Hello, hello, hello. How am I sounding here? Quick check, everybody online. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Yeah. We have a great volunteer manning the computer back there.
No pressure.
Very happy about that. So hey, everybody here in the room, look at this crowd. This is nice. It's nice to see everybody. Everybody online, hi. I'm the only one who can see, so I'll wait for everybody in the room. Thanks for joining us tonight. This is our first program for 2023, and my name is not Rich Harvest. Nice to meet you. Thanks. So Rich is off on an adventure somewhere. He will return to us soon and be back to his normal, excellent performing self that we've come to appreciate very much in his hosting duties. I am Casey Adams, and I just finished my stint as president for 2 years. It was awesome. I don't think I aged too much, just a little. And so tonight's cool because it's like a literal transition to the new president, which you will hear from here shortly. So on behalf of PMI Central Indiana chapter, let me welcome you all here. And one of the things we try to do with these programs is, of course, bring value to all of you, everybody who attends and watches. We're really happy about that. And tonight, we like to use the first meeting of the year to do our annual chapter business review. You get to hear about all that value that we're trying to deliver. And we also couple that with a nice spotlight on the local business and economy of our community. We expect, of course, project professionals are a big part of that community because, let's face it, project professionals get stuff done, and that's what the local business and economy wants. And I would like to juggle some notes here for a second. All right. You got me on the slides there? Cool.
It should be on the slides.
We're going to get quicker working.
Nope, that's the music. See, you put too much pressure on me. Try now.
There it is.
You go.
All right. So we are coming from one of the lovely members of our local business community and economy, Maven Space. It's a nice little venue here hosting us this evening, and we're happy to be supporting them. Note the URL is .co, not a typo. That is the URL. If you don't use that, I don't know where you're going to end up. All right, so let's get into new chapter members. So we like to recognize those who have recently joined us. We have a nice list back here. I'm going to start at the top. No, I'm not going to do that. If you are a new member here in the room, raise your hand. Two.
Hey.
Two here in the room. If you're online, say hi in the chat that you're new to the chapter. And we're happy to have you. Thanks for joining. You are literally the community. Without you, we have nothing. We're just talking to space. All right. Kind of cool. I need to dance again.
It's apparently cannot monitor chat and give you presentation at the same
We
time.
are learning something today.
Yes, we are. It's making you start over. It's not letting you advance?
There we go. Perfect. See, persistence. That's all it takes. So now we have our newly certified members. Are any of them in the room today? Anybody gotten your certification recently? Online, if you're a newly certified person, please put that in the chat as well. And we're just going to say congratulations. You did it. Hard work, a lot of studying, and now you've made the community better by bettering yourself. All right, now for the easy part. Get to introduce our current board members and read from my notes and try to sound like I'm not reading from notes. Try to practice this early. All right, so first up, our president, Elkhart native, Gaylyn Hill, started volunteering for PMICIC in August of 2019. In November 2019, she saw a need and eagerly embraced the role of Director of Volunteers, in which she served until taking the role of VP of Professional Development. In February of 2021, Her passion for the chapter and the desire to expand the reach of its influence led her to undertake the president's role. She is a certified project management professional, professional Scrum Master, Safe Agilist, Safe Scrum Master, Discipline Agile Scrum Master, Safe Product Owner, Product Manager, and Safe DevOps Practitioner. Galen has more than 20 years in program and project management. She is currently a program and project manager with Tata Consultancy, serving a local pharmaceutical company in Indianapolis. Her area of expertise includes, but is not limited to, software development and implementation for the legal, education, and healthcare industries. Galen's compassion towards the well-being of children led her in 2018 to be volunteer for Marion County as a court-appointed special advocate, CASA, for children, where she continues to serve our area. She is a graduate of IU Bloomington School of Public Environmental Affairs with a bachelor's degree in public affairs. Galen enjoys spending time with family and friends, curling up with a good mystery novel, and has a talent for crafting unique appreciation gifts, unique occasion gifts. Next up, we have Kelly Sandstrom. Has over 15 years of experience in project management, IT, and operations in the consulting and tech industries. She graduated from IU Bloomington, Kelly School of Business, with a bachelor's degree in computer information systems, business process management, and operations management, and a minor in math. Everybody. Kelly currently holds Project Management Institute's Project Management Professional, Agile Certified Practitioner, Certified Associate in Project Management certifications, as well as the Advanced Certified Scrum Master. Wow, my mic just turned on.
The second one. Did Karen leave?
I know that people in the room could hear me, but I'm worried about people at home.
Here.
All right, so she also has a professional Scrum Master certification in CompTIA Project Plus. Kelly is the Associate Director of Project Management at Horizon Digital, an experience-forward consultancy. In her free time, Kelly enjoys reading as many books as possible, riding her bike, exploring Indianapolis with her husband Scott, and spending time with her two adorable nieces as much as possible, and also getting along to buy her cat. All right, well, with that, the two of you come up and take it over.
Thank you. All right. Thanks, Casey. Hello, everyone. It is awesome to see so many people in the room, and I know we have a lot of people online, so welcome. Super excited to kick off 2023 with you all. I am going to be sharing our chapter operations update with you all. So as part of that update, you will be hearing about membership, volunteers, finances, and partnerships. So all the fun, boring stuff. Okay, let's dive in here. All right, so we are a 100% volunteer-run organization. So volunteer recruitment and retention remains an annual goal for the chapter each year. While we didn't quite hit our volunteer goal in 2022, I am excited to share that 36 volunteers assisted our chapter throughout the year last year, which includes 4 board members and 5 directors. Because of the dedication of our volunteers, we hosted 9 Third Wednesday program series events, so this event, 6 chapter collaboration meetings, 4 quarterly leadership workshops, 3 social meetups, 2 volunteer appreciation and new member welcome events, 1 career development workshop, and 1 annual Pro Dev Day conference. We're always looking for fresh and new ways to keep our volunteers engaged and dedicated to the mission of the chapter. In 2022, we introduced a new volunteer opportunities menu for our volunteers to give them a better way to get connected to the needs of the chapter. We will continue to offer this volunteer opportunities menu in 2023. Also not surprising is our annual membership goal for the chapter. As a membership organization, we're always measuring our new member and renewal member statistics each year to ensure we are trending in the right direction. So we started the year off in a strong membership position. January 2023 membership shows 1,310 members, which is higher than where we started in the year in 2022, just 1,222. Let me flip to the next slide so you can see some fun statistics on our chapter membership. All of this is real-time data available to you at any time on our website homepage. So you can see how many folks we've got certified in our chapter area, and then there's our total membership number up there as well. Go back. We rolled out 2 new initiatives last year related to membership. The first, and I hope you've seen this on our website, is a members-only job board where employers can submit project management related positions to be shared exclusively with our membership. I know today we have at least one job out there currently, so please check it out and use it as a resource if you're in the market for a new role. If you are an employer or a hiring manager with PM roles to fill, please consider our chapter job board as an additional resource to reach highly qualified candidates in the central Indiana area. Job postings are 100% free to add to the job board. In 2022, we continued our annual volunteer recognition event, and we added a second biannual event as well. In July, we hosted volunteers and new members at Symphony on the Prairie, which was super fun. And in December, we threw a party downtown here at Silo Auto Club and Conservancy. For the community outreach goal, we had several focus areas: increasing the value delivery in our website communications and offerings, and utilizing our website space for recruiting sponsorships and or partnerships. As part of our communications update, we'll touch on the website. Admittedly, we fell short on getting the new sponsor packages live on the website before the end of the year. But the great news is that we did spend 2022 refining and finalizing our chapter sponsor packages, and we are launching those live in the community very soon. In fact, you can see them on our website right now. Moving to our financial update, we ended the year in a strong chapter financial position. In 2022, we had 4 main sources of chapter income: member dues, which remains the primary source of our income, in-person programming. So since we've returned to in-person programming midway through last year, at the time, in-person programming is not turning a profit. However, the chapter leadership continues to strategize on the best ways to deliver in-person programming to our audience. And our PMI affiliate program, which is a commission-based program we are part of through PMI. Looking ahead to 2023, the chapter will continue generating revenue through those primary sources. We also plan to add an income stream through our job board, so moving to more of a fee-based job listing, and sponsorships. So that's really exciting. For our membership part of our organization, we have several new initiatives planned for 2023. You can see some of them here. So establishing a new member orientation event. We just held our very first one this past Saturday. It was super success, thanks to our director of membership, who we'll hear from in a little bit. Continue our member recognition, improve member communications, be able to offer more offerings to our military and veteran members, and then expand on our education and training opportunities and partnerships. Same on the volunteer front, we have a couple of new initiatives for 2023, establishing a volunteer orientation for our volunteer base, increasing our volunteer base, including participation in the main focus areas of our chapter, which is programs, career development, membership, and communications. Then the volunteer experience. And on the community outreach side, we are also seeking a volunteer leader to manage our partnerships with student members as well as academic institutions. So just a couple of reminders. I already said this, but we are a 100% volunteer-run organization, so we cannot survive without the endless dedication of our wonderful volunteers who share a passion for our profession and collaborate to make this the premier community for the project management profession in Central Indiana. Our main functional areas of our chapter are operations, professional development, communications, membership, and finance. So if you have an interest in any of these areas, please consider volunteering with the chapter. We can use your help in any or all of these areas. And then just one quick reminder on the PMI front, you hopefully received this email and saw this online. PMI did increase their membership dues this year, $10 to $139. Our chapter is not increasing our dues for 2023. It will remain the same. And then here are just a few needs that we have on the operations side of the organization. So we are seeking a director of technology, so someone to kind of manage all of our tech assets, as well as help out on our website. Director of business intelligence, social good, military and veteran outreach, which I mentioned is a new area for us. And then of course, sponsors and chapter supporters. So please consider those. All right, on to communications. Our communications committee hit several milestones in 2022 that I'm excited to share with you all tonight. At our last annual chapter meeting, we were right on the cusp of launching our new website, and that launch happened in January of last year. So I hope you've been out to our website, PMICIC.org, in the last year to see how our website is new and improved and now better serves you, our members. The new website was also a contributing factor to meeting our goal last year of improving chapter communications. So some of the new features you can explore on the website include a member-only login area, which authenticates using your PMI username and password, membership and anniversary stats, we just looked at those, and then our job board that we talked about. So tonight, we're actually doing a fun launch of the redesign of our chapter logo. So if you haven't seen it live or big, this is what it looks like. We replaced the purple square there with purple Indiana State outline with that burst representing our chapter service area and a nod to the fact that our chapter extends through most of the state, hence the Indiana State torch. So if you haven't had a chance to pick up a new logo sticker, there are plenty floating around there on the tables, so make sure to grab one. Last year, we also reached members and non-members in new ways. We did a postcard mailing to reach our membership who may not be digitally savvy. And we also connected with our PMI members in our community who are not yet chapter members. We also continued a focus on growing our social media brand and presence. And of course, halfway through 2022, we returned to hybrid programming. So we've been working to ensure a seamless experience for our attendees who register and attend both in person and virtually. This year, we had several communications goals. First, in collaboration with our Director of Membership, we are ramping up efforts to engage more members in our community. So again, targeting the PMI members who aren't yet chapter members here. And we will continue to build out our affiliate program with PMI. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the products section of our website, I'd encourage you to take a look. As a PMI affiliate, we are able to promote some of the best-selling PMI products and courses out there. And every time you make a purchase using the affiliate link through our chapter gets a commission, which helps our chapter increase our sources of income. So we can offer the best services to you all, our members. Another project we're working on in tandem with the membership committee is a better member email experience. So stay tuned for more on that as the year progresses. And finally, with the introduction of our new logo, we want to give you something relevant and fun this year. So be on the lookout for opportunities to purchase logo merchandise for the chapter and even have the opportunity to win some new swag. Just some reminders quickly. So you can engage with the chapter through email. If you aren't getting our emails, please check your spam folder. We do send them out quite regularly, about 3 times a month. Social media, you can find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And there's our website address there. And we do have a contact us if you want to contact us anytime through the website. We do have a couple of current needs on the communications committee. So I mentioned a webmaster. So if that is an interest or skill set of yours, please apply. Director of sponsorship, director of communications, and then just general communications committee members to support this program, Pro Dev Day, which is our annual conference, and then new chapter initiatives as they come up this year. And I think that's it. Passing it over to Galen.
Thank you very much, Kelly. I appreciate all the great information that you were able to share with everyone. All right, so we only have about 10 minutes because I know you guys really came here to hear Gerry Dick speak. So I do not want to hold you too much longer, so I'll kind of quickly go through my slides. You'll get a copy of these slides, so if you didn't catch one of our programs last year, you can find them on our YouTube channel. The link on this particular slide takes you to actually claiming that PDU code, so if you haven't done that yet, you want to make sure you get your PDU codes claimed. So what do we have planned for this year as far as professional development? Of course, we're going to continue with our hybrid programs. We are going to be sneaking in a couple of virtual just as we start to ramp up the year to get our volunteers on board. So we probably won't be back in person with a hybrid till March, April. We'll keep you informed in regards to that. But look for the next meeting for sure to be virtual. We would like to add some new things this year. But again, it comes with having volunteers to help us do that. So we're looking at potentially doing some lunch and learns, or perhaps even meeting up for breakfast. So if these are things that you're interested, please let us know. Obviously, we don't want to be providing things that are not of interest to you, so do let us know. We always, of course, are going to do our PDD. It is slated for September 14th and 15th, so please save the date. Again, we are pairing up with the Central Iowa and the Central Illinois chapter to bring you this conference. It will be all virtual, but we are looking to potentially do like a networking session where you come and you do a watch party. So look for some announcements in regards to that. And of course, we base all of our programs, what we provide for you, on your survey results. So if you guys are not regularly filling out your surveys, please do so. This is how we determine what we're providing for you. So the more we hear from you and what you want, the better programs we're going to be able to provide for you. All right, moving on. Just some quick infos and reminders. All of the videos, again, that you saw on the last slide, are available on our YouTube. We now have our PDU catalog updated on our website. So if you're looking to just look to see what a PDU code was for a particular program, you can find that there. We talked about PDD. Of course, we're always in need of volunteers, speakers. Here's the great thing. If you guys, as you work throughout the week, your employer is providing any sort of programs. If you have some great speakers that you've heard and you would like us to bring them to our programs, please reach out. Let us know who those speakers are. Otherwise, we're just kind of stabbing in the dark with what we know. So the more information, the better. And of course, if any of you have had programs at other facilities, please let us know. We're always on the lookout for that. We're always trying to make sure that we're centrally located with our programs so that you guys are not traveling a really long distance. I know that, we have a large population that live on the north side, but you may not work on the north side. You may be working downtown. So if that is the deal, then let us know some really great facilities and we'll see if we can switch things up a little bit. All right, moving on. So real quick, I'm going to go through, there was a LIM that was held in Orlando. It was the first time PMI had held one in person. let me just tell you, it was a lot of fun. So one of the perks of volunteering for our organization is that you have the opportunity to go to things like LIM and get to meet other chapters and figure out what they're doing for their members, and then bring it back to our chapter to hopefully, improve upon what we provide for you. So this year's LIM is going to be April 13th through the 16th in San Diego. If that is an enticement to volunteer, I don't know what is, right? San Diego in April. Woo! Anyways, also Global was in person this year. We had it in Las Vegas. It's Caesar's Palace. That was an experience. It was fun. Definitely an experience. We actually were able to have 5 of our volunteers go to that. So that was a lot of fun, being able to meet up with each other after all the sessions, talk about what we learned. Again, one of the perks for volunteering. I don't know if I've said this enough, but yeah, if you haven't already volunteered, please consider it. All right. What I'd like to do now is we're going to quickly do this. I had hoped that we were going to be able to have them come up and speak a little bit, but we're going to have to fast forward through this pretty quickly. But we did want to introduce our directors. These are the people that help Kelly and I make and pull up all the things that we provide for the members. So first up is Heather Cassidy. She is our our director of membership. Heather, want to stand up? Hi, Heather. Again, you guys will get the slides, so I'm not really going to go through the bio and some of the needs, but if membership is of interest to you, take a look at this. And this will give you a good idea of what she will be working with this year and the kind of help that she needs. Next up is Cheryl Perkins. Cheryl's not with us tonight, but she is our director of volunteers. And this is such an important role. I've done this when I first started with the chapter, I can tell you, she needs help, right? To provide the service that we provide to our volunteers, we really need to get her some help. So if anyone is interested in helping out with volunteers, this is a worthwhile one to invest in. Next up is Ruchika. Hi, Ruchika. Ruchika is our director of social goods, and she is going to be responsible for helping us get out into the community and really provide some really good services. Again, information of what she's looking for and things that we're doing this year. Next up is David Maynard. David is not with us either. He is our community outreach in Bloomington. So we're trying to, we know that we've had some big interest in the past for people in Bloomington and not wanting to drive up here, don't blame them, for the monthly program. So we're looking to spend something up there a little bit locally. As we get that one built up, we are looking for potentially some other areas, Lafayette being one of them, Muncie being another one. So this is a really exciting thing for us to get this one spun out and done well so that we can branch out to other areas as well. Kim Henry, she is not with us tonight either. She is our current director of IT. But I did want to mention her because she has served us in that role for the past 2 years. She has decided to step down, so she will be stepping down in March, which is why we need a new director of IT. But she has taken some time to kind of let you know the things that committee and what she does. All right, some honorable mentions before I turn the program over to Gerry. I wanted to say that even though we've had some really great success this past year, and moving forward, hopefully we're going to have some additional, great success. This all could not have been done without the expertise and the volunteer hours from all of the volunteers that have come before Kelly and I and Casey and all of the other volunteers here tonight. So I wanted to say a special thank you for those who volunteered when the chapter first started back in 2001, and who kind of built this program up so that we could step in and help it to the next level. So for any of you out there who had volunteered for the chapter before, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Before I turn it over to Gary, I did want to ask Erica and Casey to come up here. So both Erica and Casey served on the board last year. As you know, Casey announced that he was the former president. Erica was our VP executive. So we want to say thank you. They are not disappearing from us. They're just stepping down into a little bit lesser role with some more flexible hours. So thank you very much for your service. And we wanted to give you guys a little thank you. So please give them a round of applause. All right, we've lived through a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions before we move on to the main attraction for tonight? I know you guys all love hearing about the chocolate, but really, we all know why you're here. Yes.
Where again can we find the volunteer opportunities menu that Kelly mentioned?
Oh, Hannah, it's on Trello.
It is on Trello, okay.
I can send it to you.
Okay, perfect. By the way, that's a really good question. So for all of our volunteers, we actually use Trello, and we very much like to use the principles of Agile as we work through our programs, whether it be monthly or be PDD day. So if you guys are on the cusp of, hey, I want to kind of learn Agile, but I don't know where to start, come join, help us, volunteer. We'll give you all the experience that you need. And then you can put it on your resume. It's really win-win. We love it. All right, without further ado, I'm going to give the speaker back to Casey so that he can announce our speakers this evening.
Thanks, Galen. All right, everybody, clap for her again, please. She's got a lot on the plate to try to carry out this year. All right, so once again, just gonna point out, we are at Maintenance Space down here, downtown Indy, Capitol and Michigan streets. So if you're in the market for a place to set up shop, you can check out their website again. Here's a couple of things I pulled off of it, just to give you a little flavor of what Maintenance Space is about. Go read for yourself and find out what a place is. All right, and real quick, we like to just throw this out there. We do trust the ethics of our project management professional community. Just understand, this is protected content in a way. Don't, go putting it out there somewhere else that doesn't belong. And with that, Gerry Dick, our speaker tonight, serves as president of Inside Indiana Business, division of IBJ Media Corp. Mr. Dick created Inside Indiana Business Television in 1998, and 2 years later, along with technology entrepreneur Scott Jones, formed Grow Indiana Media Ventures, an Indianapolis-based multimedia company focused on producing and distributing business news and information. Mr. Dick sold the company to IBJ Media in 2021. Congratulations, sir. You can watch Inside Indiana Business with Gerry Dick weekly on 15 Indiana television stations, hear daily business reports on 23 Indiana radio stations, and subscribe to the daily newsletters. About 200,000 emails are distributed weekly. All content is available on demand at InsideIndianaBusiness.com and through a mobile app. The company's latest venture into podcasting, including Business and Beyond with Gerry Dick, has quickly grown into one of its most popular platforms. Gerry has been awarded the state's top honor, the Sagamore of the Wabash, 3 times by Governors Kernan, Daniels, and Pence. He has been awarded Ernst & Young's prestigious Entrepreneur of the Year award and has been recognized by the Small Business Administration as Journalist of the Year. Inside Indiana Business with Gerry Dick has received an Emmy 5 times for Best Interview Discussion Program. Gerry is a frequent keynote speaker and moderator on issues related to Indiana business and the state's economy. He also serves as the business news analyst for CBS Sport and Fox 59 Television and 93.1 WIBC Radio in Indianapolis. Mr. Dick, the floor is yours.
and good evening, everyone. Great to be with you in person. Tired of those virtual events. It's nice to be in person. I know we have some people, I think it sounds like, online as well. So welcome to you as well. And it's really neat to see the Bathing Space here. I've been by this place a million times, but have not been in. This is a pretty cool space, to be sure. Mentioned something that has changed since the last time I think I spoke to the group, and that's the acquisition by IBJ Media, which has been now, it's a little over a year, a really great combination, new arrangement for us. I think one of the exciting things about it is the ability to really enhance our statewide coverage of business news. So one of the really attractive things for me in this deal is our statewide focus. Obviously, we cover central Indiana business news, but also around the state of Indiana. IBJ focused on central Indiana, so you combine the two, I think we have a really powerful combination, and we've begun to grow in a big way. Doing events, we're going to start new regional e-newsletters. Our first one will be in Evansville in Southwest Indiana. We can really drill down on content going on in regional markets around the state of Indiana as well. So lots more to come on that in the future. Lots to talk about as we begin 2023. A lot of questions about the economy heading into this year. More of them, I think, on the national stage, but obviously with implications for Indiana when we talk about inflation, energy prices, supply chain issues, which I think have improved, but still are certainly an issue. The potential for a recession, and you see people talking about perhaps a mild recession. Others maybe not so sure. We see what the big banks are doing. They're really getting their reserves up there in anticipation of an economy that could be very challenged. There could be some loan situations for the banks. We're also seeing a lot of layoffs on the national scale, especially the big tech companies. I think it was today Microsoft said they're going to cut 10,000 workers around the country this year. Amazon, Twitter, Netflix, Google announced plans, and don't know what the impact might be, but there should be some impact here. Salesforce, it's big layoff numbers just a couple of weeks ago as well. So the tech space, some uncertainty in that space. Another issue that continues to be a big issue in the state of Indiana, but really all over the country, and that is workforce and the ability of companies to find workers, the workers they need to fill the jobs they have open. I can't remember what the number is, but it's in the thousands in terms of the available jobs that are out there now, jobs that are posted. The companies are saying they're finding it very difficult to find people. It's affecting all sectors of the economy. Certainly the service industry is impacted. We're seeing restaurants and other establishments not only cutting hours, some restaurants, longtime restaurants, have closed. They just simply can't find enough workers to staff their operations. It's especially acute, I think, in the technical fields, and important as Indiana tries to compete for big economic development deals. Great example was Intel, and this was, I guess it was last year that Intel selected Columbus, Ohio, or that area for two huge plants that they were, two chip plants that they are putting in Ohio. $20 billion investment, 20,000 jobs over the course of time. Indiana was a finalist for that investment. And everything I hear from the folks who were involved in that is one of the issues that really percolated to the top was Indiana's ability to commit to being able to provide a pipeline for those 20,000 jobs over the next number of years. That was a real detriment and maybe cost Indiana that investment. When you talk about demand for technical workers, lots of examples of how strong that demand is around the state. One of them that caught my eye this fall was Rose-Hulman over in Terre Haute, top private engineering college in the country. They have their annual fall job fair. This year they had 283 companies that showed up to the job fair at Rose-Hulman in Terre Haute. That was a record. And 70 of those companies, about a fourth, were on campus for the very first time over in Terre Haute. And how attractive are those jobs? Rose-Hulman's placement is virtually at 100%. Everybody who graduates from Rose basically gets a job. Starting salary easily in excess of $80,000, approaching $100,000. And I think one of the things I find interesting too, Secretary of Commerce Brad Chambers and I were having a conversation about, what can be done in this whole talent issue and getting more people to companies here in Indiana. And he said he was at a college and met with a small group of seniors, graduates to be at that college. He said there were a dozen of them, 12. And he, was talking about working in Indiana and that type of thing. And he asked those 12 students, how many of you would take a job in Indiana if there were an offer? 11 hands went up, 11 out of 12. Then he asked how many are taking a job in Indiana. They all had a job. 1 hand went up in the state. And I think that's reflective, and he agreed that companies in Indiana need to do a better job of promoting what they have and marketing, their jobs in Indiana to help with this situation as well. There are indications, lots of folks are working on this, no question about it. The state, private sector companies and others are working on it. One of the interesting developments, I think, one of the most consequential things that we're going to see in the next 2 to 3 years is what happens not very far from here at IUPUI, because that's not going to be IUPUI anymore. It's going to be IU-Indy, but Purdue's going to have a big presence as well. And we're beginning to see or to hear that vision for what the IUPUI campus, what is IUPUI now, what that's going to become in the years ahead. I think it's pretty exciting. We'll see how it kind of plays out. IU has already talked about, President Pam Whitten has talked about a technology corridor. And when she talks about that, it's a couple of blocks of including perhaps some new buildings on the IUPUI campus, really focused on science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM jobs, and getting perhaps thousands more students in downtown Indianapolis for IUPUI, connecting with the business community. And then what I think is interesting too, and Purdue is becoming a little more forceful on this in terms of what they're going to be doing here. We had their new president on, Meng Chang, who's really an interesting guy. Immigrated from China through Hong Kong as a college student. He came here to go to college, ended up going to Princeton and Stanford. So he's got the academic, of course, credentials, but he has 25 patents on a variety of things. He started 3 companies, so he has kind of the business side of things as well. Purdue looks at their Indianapolis campus as not being a regional campus. He made no bones about it. He said, this is going to be an extension of West Lafayette. This is going to be part of our main campus. It's going to be Indianapolis. So it's going to kind of be a dual campus, West Lafayette and Indianapolis. And he said there's no question that thousands of students, they're going to add thousands more students to their roles in downtown Indianapolis. The attractive thing for them, too, is that connection with the central Indiana business community, business and the industry here in downtown Indianapolis. And then more broadly, we actually were lucky we got him for his first interview since taking the president's office. And he envisions a 63-mile corridor stretching from downtown Indianapolis, Purdue, Indy, through Boone County, Lebanon, where this new LEAP Innovation Park is going. Lilly is building 2 big manufacturing plants. Actually, our partners, the IBJ, reported today, it will be 12 buildings on that campus in Boone County. 500 to start. I think it will be much more than that. Employees from Lilly. So going through that LEAP Innovation District in Boone County, all the way up to West Lafayette and Discovery Park on the West Lafayette campus. So that's pretty aggressive, and it's very ambitious. But I think if you think through Purdue's strengths in science, technology, engineering, and engineering and math, obviously the animal sciences, agriculture, all those types of things, and what can happen, perhaps starting at Purdue, coming down through Lebanon, down to 16 Tech, which is not far from here, obviously, over on the near west side here, and the Indy campus as well. So it's going to be very interesting to watch what happens. There are going to be some politics involved, frankly, unfortunately, I think, in terms of who does what on the campus. And I know that there will need to be funding and big funding from the state of Indiana as part of that as well. But no question, Indiana is going to need that robust pipeline if we're going to compete in the economy, not just the economy of the future, the economy of now. I mean, right now, it is such a competitive marketplace out there. If you look at a number of areas, I think that are really coming into focus now, new areas in terms of where the jobs are going to be. You look at chips, the microelectronics, we see so much about the CHIPS Act that went through Congress to essentially get more of that chip production back in the United States. Indiana already is playing a role, but stands to really play a big role in getting investment in that area. That CHIPS Act that was signed into law in August provides incentives to bring manufacturing back. Part of that is to create so-called tech hubs, and not in the Silicon Valley and some of these already tech-rich areas, but in more, for lack of a better term, rural areas or non-techy areas like the Midwest. And there's a lot of feeling that Indiana can be one of those tech hubs. And again, back to Purdue, if you look at what's happening there, the Secretary of State, Secretary of Commerce of the United States were both at Purdue a few months ago touring the university to see what they have there in terms of all the assets that they have there, and came away very impressed with what's there. What is going to be there, Skywater Technology is a Minnesota-based company that has already announced plans for to invest almost $2 billion in a computer chip, a microelectronics manufacturing and research and development facility at Purdue, 750 jobs. MediaTek is a South Korean chip design maker or designer that's going to put their first plant or first operation at American University at Purdue. 2 months ago in southern Indiana, ground was broken for an $84 million semiconductor campus at the Westgate Crane Technology Park. 4 semiconductor companies committing about $300 million in investment in that part of the state to add more than 500 jobs. And there's a lot more investment that's going to come there. The question is, where's it going to go? Is Indiana going to get its fair share? I'm told that Indiana's in the running for at least 2 or 3 more of those big projects right now. Another area, Indiana continues to be a manufacturing state, most manufacturing intensive state in the country. And that whole marketplace is certainly changing with the electrification of the auto industry. And whatever you think about electric vehicles and where that's going, it is happening. It is going to happen, and the automakers are investing tens of billions of dollars to really change over their operations, basically how they make cars and what they do to accommodate that. Indiana's already cashing in on that. Stellantis, Samsung, SDI, $2.5 billion deal in Kokomo, 1,400 jobs for electric vehicle batteries, and transforming their transmission plants to accommodate electric vehicles. So if you think about it, hey, we're going to electric vehicles, that's radically different from what we have now. You're going to have to change the manufacturing process. And with that is disruption in the auto industry. So guys and gals who've made, traditional autos, cars and trucks, it's going to be different now. They're going to be put out of work. Question is how many can go back in, can be retrained in this new manufacturing process going forward. So Indiana is going to be obviously in the spotlight there. GM has invested $45 million in Bedford. There's a joint venture up in South Bend, New Carlisle, General Motors, and LG, Ultium Cells. It's an electric vehicle battery plant, $2 billion, 1,600 jobs. It's not officially committed yet, but that's probably coming up in that part of the state. So you can kind of sense that these investments are really big, and the states that get them, the regions that get them, are going to benefit. In the spring, Toyota Motor Manufacturing down in Princeton, they announced last year $800 million investment. Again, it's about electric vehicles and manufacturing electric vehicles here in Indiana. Honda just announced a big electric vehicle battery plant, but that one went to Ohio, so one that Indiana did not get. Interesting piece of that, 4-year college degrees, still very much of value, but so many of these jobs, these technical jobs, technician jobs, don't require a 4-year degree. It's 2-year associate degrees, stackable credentials that are needed for those. So Ivy Tech, Vincennes, and others are going to play a key role going forward in how Indiana deals with some of this and gets some of these jobs going forward. We're seeing some big deals in other sectors of the economy besides manufacturing, life sciences. Indiana, I think you could argue, and I think is certainly a top 10, maybe a top 5 state for life sciences in the United States. In Bloomington, Catalent is a New Jersey-based biopharma company. They're investing $350 million to add 1,100 jobs in that community. Now, they announced a couple of months ago about 400 layoffs as well. So the ebb and flow of jobs, but significant investment by Catalent in Bloomington. Elanco Animal Health, and we see what they're doing. They're moving forward with plans for this new campus here in downtown Indianapolis along the White River. Going to take downtown Indianapolis across the White River for the first time. And really ambitious plans. Many of you probably seen maybe some of the renderings or what they want to do there, but to really create a campus that will be there and connect to the White River State Park, the zoo, entertainment options, and a number of things as well. So that is a big investment that can be, I think, transformational for downtown Indianapolis. The other piece I'll mention, I mentioned Boone County, but the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, in terms of big projects, one of their strategies is to create so-called innovation districts. They call them LEAP, and I can't remember what the acronym stands for, but LEAP Innovation Districts. Boone County is an example. They're buying up, and there's a little bit of controversy there. Some of the community, the landowners aren't exactly happy about it. So there's going to be some of that happen in Boone County, but there are other areas of the state they've targeted for these innovation districts. And the whole idea is to find a space where you can kind of cluster companies and investment and innovation. And the first example is Boone County in Lebanon. If you think about growth areas in this area, that next big thing, I think, if you look at Boone County and Whitestown and that whole area there is growing in a big way, in a really big way in that part of the region. The other big story, I think, in terms of impacting communities, metro areas like Indianapolis, Fort Wayne is a good example, are doing pretty well. A lot of rural Indiana is not, and smaller communities are very challenged because they don't have the resources. They don't, unfortunately, in many cases, don't have the leadership to get things done. There's a big initiative at the state level. It's called READY, and again, the acronym I can't remember. It's Regional Economic Development is what it is, and there are these READY grants. The first round, $500 million. They use money, federal COVID money, to fund that, and to award regions around the state money based on projects that they would do. Any number of things, quality of life projects, could be anything to help make their community better. And bottom line, it gets to talent attraction. What can we do to make our community better, to keep people here, but also to attract people that we can, to live, work, and play there. $500 million in the first round. The governor is asking the state for another $500 million now in the second round. That's going to come from the state. First round is from the feds. This comes from the state of Indiana. And it's interesting to see the impact that has had. We were in Terre Haute for the show last week. That region got $20 million in the first round. And they are funding everything from an expansion of the Children's Museum, aquatic park. There is a parking garage that would connect and perhaps get 2 new hotels downtown to connect to a new convention center. Little Sullivan, Indiana, which is close to Terre Haute. They're doing a water park. They're doing housing, which has become a big issue around the state. Some of these communities, there's not enough affordable housing for people to go into. So you talk about you want to attract a plant, you want to attract investment. Where do those people live? It's really a big issue, which I've been surprised at, but it's been that way for a couple of years. But this READY grant in Little Sullivan, Indiana, they got, I think, $5 million to help build an affordable housing complex. But the bottom line is these are projects that these communities wouldn't be able to do without this money. And the important thing is, too, is $500 million, and the key is it's got to be leveraged, it's got to be matched by private investment. And there's some estimates that the $500 million is leveraging a total of about $4 billion worth of projects. around the state of Indiana. So a pretty unique program that has the ability to really fund a lot of projects around the state of Indiana. Kind of taking a whip around the state of Indiana in terms of the big stories in each region. I think here in central Indiana, it's a focus on the life sciences and creating more of an innovative economy. And again, so much, if you talk to the state, if you talk to economic development officials, what's the biggest issue? There are several, but I think if you ask them to blow the smoke away, they would say talent. It's just getting enough people here, talented people to fill jobs. And then that kind of connects to quality of life, quality of place. Economic development today, much different than it was, I mean, even probably 10 years ago, but certainly 20 years ago, when it was all cost. Hey, you come to our city or our region, it's cheap. You know, you can do business here and you're going to save money. Certainly cost is still a factor, but a bigger factor is selling the employee on quality of life, quality of place. Is this a place that you want your family, you want to come raise your family, you want to do those kinds of things? And that's really the focus of economic development has shifted that way in a big way. So that's what we're seeing. That's a big issue certainly here in central Indiana. In northeast Indiana, I think Fort Wayne is one of the great stories in the state. If you haven't been there or haven't been there for a while, you probably wouldn't recognize it. There's been so much investment, development in downtown Fort Wayne. It all started about a decade ago, a little more than that, I guess, with Parkview Field, which is a minor league ballpark. So back then, there was this whole discussion, do we build a downtown ballpark here in downtown Fort Wayne? And I think this is one of the great examples of leadership that sometimes you don't see, many times you don't see in communities. So this was a big community issue. The polling on the issue was pretty clear that the public didn't really like the idea. They didn't think it was a good idea to have this ballpark downtown. So the public, you know, the sentiment was against it. So politicians would typically look at that and maybe rightfully so in some cases and say, okay, we're not going to do it. But sometimes for political purposes. But the business community and political leadership, they got together and they kept looking at it. They said, this is what we need. This is what we need to do. It's going to be, it's the right thing to do. So they went against public opinion and maybe political smarts and built the Parkview Field. And I think if you ask almost anyone there now, they will tell you that was the spark that really got Fort Wayne going and where it is today. And you go there now, there are corporate headquarters. Star Bank is building its new corporate headquarters in downtown Fort Wayne. There's residential people who are living in downtown. I started my broadcasting career there many years ago. And it was great. We were just starting out of college. It was fun. But I'm telling you, nothing happened after 5 o'clock in downtown Fort Wayne, to be sure. There just wasn't much happening. And they had a huge international harvester plant up there that was 10,000 plus employees that closed. It was just awful for the community. But they bounced back in a big way. Again, people living downtown, they've got a Ruth's Chris downtown. I think they're one of the smallest markets in the country with the Ruth's Chris. Education, they're getting investment from colleges to locate kind of satellite locations in downtown. And they've got this big project called Electric Works. And it's amazing. It's an old General Electric campus. So General Electric made motors there for years. They had, I think at one time they employed over 20,000 people, if you can believe that, in near downtown Fort Wayne. All these factories, multiple factories. And then that production went to Mexico and went out of the United States, and ultimately that closed, that place closed. And it has been a series of brick buildings, old brick factories that have sat decaying, weed infested for years. That's being transformed. So Bottle Works, here in Indianapolis, which has been a big success, really cool space. If you think of Bottle Works, very similar project is going in, and they're calling it Electric Works, General Electric, into that complex. And it's opening now. The first phase is open. The first phase, I think, is $250 million. They got another $250 million in phase 2. but they've got Do It Best, the big hardware co-op, moving their corporate headquarters there. They're already in. There's education investment, obviously retail, restaurants, residential. It's a massive project, and to get that going, especially during the pandemic, is just amazing. So Fort Wayne, I can't say enough about what's happening. And in fact, you talk about talent, Northeast Indiana has a goal of increasing their population to 1 million residents, 1 million people by, I think it's 2025, maybe it's 2030. But they are on that. And in fact, Fort Wayne, I don't know if it was the census, but they are ranked as the fastest growing metro area in the Great Lakes, Fort Wayne, Indiana. So it's a great story there. In South Bend and Northern Indiana, job growth, some of the RV sector, that's such a cyclical thing. So it's up and down. The technology is changing that industry. We were up there not long ago, and they're talking about electric vehicles, electric RVs. It's going to happen, and they're preparing for that. I think one of the big stories in that part of the state and for Indiana is Notre Dame's involvement in economic development, and they've really been engaged in wanting to participate and to help Indiana, which they never did before. I mean, this has been now 4 or 5 years. They've really been strong about it. I talked to their president in a podcast, and he was very upfront that Notre Dame wants to help Indiana be the best it can be from an economy standpoint and innovation standpoint as well. So that's what's happening in Northern Indiana. Northwest Indiana, really interesting. The region, so many people, who live there feel as though they're more part of Chicago than Indiana. I know a number of Indiana governors have felt as though there's so much potential there, business and industry, but has never really connected with the rest of the state. It's beginning to change a little bit thanks to some big projects. So the South Shore Rail Line, there've been an extension of the South Shore Rail Line, double tracking to add track, and also to extend the South Shore Rail Line has been talked about, I think, for more than 50 years, probably more than that, as people tell me there. Both those projects are happening now. A couple of $1 billion investment, transformational. And part of the deal is to reduce, to make that commuter experience better, but also to reduce the commute time to make it easier to get to downtown Chicago. And what we're seeing, or beginning to see, is communities up there, Valparaiso, Dyer, Whiting, Maryville, are making big investments in there, those that have downtowns, in housing, in restaurants, retail, again, quality of life things, and they're marketing their cities, their communities to people who work in Chicago and say, look, you can come live here, quality of life, cost of living, taxes, all those types of things can be better here, and you can get to downtown Chicago quicker than you can in some of the suburbs of Chicago. And it's beginning to pay off. There are numbers showing a migration of people from Illinois, trying to get more businesses to come here. But even if folks work over there, live in Indiana. So that's a big thing that's happening. And I think you're going to hear more of that here as those projects come online in Northwest Indiana. Southwest Indiana, Evansville, downtown development there, new IU Medical Center, which has now been open for several years, right in the heart of downtown, making some improvements on the riverfront as well. Toyota is in that region, and I don't know what their employment is up to. It's approaching, I think, 10,000. I know it's over around 8,000 in Princeton, just north of there. Very Global is a company that it's an amazing company, multi-billion-dollar, multinational company headquartered in Indiana. I don't think probably too many people have even heard of them, but it's a big company in that region as well. Southeast Indiana is about distribution and logistics. The Ohio River bridges, 2 new bridges over the Ohio River that started. And the River Ridge Commerce Center is an old Army ammunition plant, 6,000 acres right along the Ohio River there. It's been transformed into this park that has Amazon, there's a steel campus, any number of investments that have been made there. And the beauty of that place is it's located right there along the Ohio River. So you've got connection to the Port of Indiana, Jeffersonville, the Ohio River bridges go across the river, UPS World Port. So it's become this really attractive place for distribution and logistics, and that's driving a lot of growth in Southeast Indiana. So let's kind of wrap up here. In terms of areas of focus for the economy going forward, I think it's going to continue to be advanced manufacturing. And again, advanced manufacturing, so it's using technology and innovation to make things. That's what Indiana does, is make things. Information technology, the life sciences is going to continue to be a big push here in Indiana. Ag biosciences, distribution logistics, Indiana is within a day's drive of 2/3 of the population of North America, so we're in a great spot. Aviation and aerospace, I think there's going to continue to be a focus in that area. Solar, wind, alternative energy, electric vehicles, you can kind of put that there. The IEDC, that's going to be a big focus, is the whole alternative energy push. The largest solar installation in the country is under construction now in Northwest Indiana, believe it or not. So those are going to continue to be the focus areas. And other one I'll throw in there is the business of sports. It's not one that the IEDC actively says, yeah, this is what we're going after. But as I think you all can recognize too, it is such an important part of the Indianapolis area economy. Is going to continue to be so, even with competition. So you think about the Indiana Sports Corporation, founded in 1979, very first local sports commission in the country. Fast forward to today, and I don't know what the number is, but it's in the hundreds in terms of how many sports organizations like that there are. So Indiana kind of started it with that organization, and now the competition for these events is unbelievable. And a lot of these places, Houston is a good example. I think Miami, Orlando, they have bid funds. So some of these communities, they've got dollars, a pool of whatever the number is, $5 million, $10 million. So when they're bidding on events, they can go dip into these pools and get money to help in that process. So I know Indiana, and I don't know where it is now, but I think we've established one. I don't know how much, to what level it's funded, but that's how competitive these things are. And it's because these events, especially the big ones, bring dollars, but they also bring focus on the community. Again, back to the quality of life. But you look at the business of motorsports. Obviously, you've got the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but I think there are 250 motorsports-related companies doing business in Indiana now, and have been for some time. And we've seen in the last couple of months, Andretti Global, huge new corporate headquarters in Fishers, multi-million-dollar investment, 500 jobs there. Rahal Letterman Landing and Racing, new headquarters in Zionsville. Graham Rahal building a headquarters, I think, right next to that for his various interests. I think that's a $20 million deal. McLaren Racing in Whitestown, putting a research and development facility. It will be interesting to watch. I don't have any scoop on this, but what Roger Penske and the Penske folks are going to do at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway around, because I think there's going to be some good stuff coming from there. And quietly, they've invested, I think, $200 million since he acquired the Speedway a couple of years ago. Big events coming. 2024, next year is going to be a huge year. U.S. Olympic swimming trials coming to Indianapolis. And I think this is right, but this will be the 100th anniversary of the Olympic swimming trials. And the first Olympic swimming trials were held in Indianapolis at Broad Ripple Park. So imagine that, 100 years ago, Broad Ripple Park. But what's interesting here, again, and only Indianapolis, I think, can pull this kind of thing off. U.S. Olympic swimming trials are going to be at Lucas Oil Stadium. So where are they going to swim? They don't have no pools there. There will be. So they are going to build 3 temporary pools, 2 50-meter and 1 25-meter pools are going to be built at Lucas Oil Stadium. These have to be world-class, meet all the specs as well. Interesting, this is a long event. I think it's like 13 or 14 days. So it's certainly more than a week. But you look at the exposure, it's going to be 2 weeks, essentially 2 weeks of primetime coverage on NBC here in Indianapolis. So there's a value of that, a dollar value there. 2024, next year, NBA All-Star Weekend. going to be here in Indianapolis. It was supposed to be here, I think, can't remember, 2020, but it was the pandemic canceled it and, pushed it to 2024. So that's going to be a big deal. And if you haven't been to Gingrich Fieldhouse and see what's happening there, the inside is pretty cool, and it's a game experience and all that. But if you look at what's happening outside with that pavilion and some of the things going on there, it's going to have a real impact on the Near East side of Indianapolis. Also, just a couple other things real quick, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. We continue to get big events. I don't know if you saw, but Indy landed another men's Final Four for 2029, already hosting the 2026 Final Four. Got a women's Final Four in 2028 as well. So we continue to get those great events that put Indianapolis in the spotlight. And one of the next big things, the adult draft. So Sport Corporation is very interested in making a bid. They've been very quiet about it. The NFL is kind of keeping it quiet. We saw the combine. See, I think it's back again next year, but then it's going to go away. I've got to believe it's going to come back because Indianapolis, with the medical and all the things that it does, it built the combine. I mean, basically, but the really lucrative thing, I think, is the draft. It's become this big production, and Vegas has had it, Nashville, and I think Indianapolis is going after 2027 and maybe later than that. But already I've heard people talk about, what if you had the draft, the NFL commissioner on the steps of Monument Circle to call the draft picks up on Monument Circle. So they're already talking about that kind of, but I think that'll be one to watch, is what are the big events that Indy is going to go after. I think the All-Star Game is one of them. And one other thing, which I think is interesting, you think, we've hosted a Super Bowl, we've done so many things, what do you do next? This, gaming, is such a big thing now. I don't understand. I obviously never did it. It is so wildly popular and lucrative, $1 billion+ industry. You see what the NBA is doing, some of the other pro sports. So Indy is getting into that as well. So I think the bottom line, 2023, hate to use the term, I think it probably fits cautiously optimistic. Last year, from an economic development standpoint, IEDC, the state says it attracted $22.2 billion in commitments. Those are commitments, they haven't happened, but 3 to 5 years. That's a record. And they're saying, which is kind of unusual to kind of set the bar, but they say they think they'll do more this year. And I think it's because of some of these big microelectronic investments and some of the other big things as well. But the national dynamics in terms of recession and all those types of things stand to potentially have an impact. So I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has or comments. Yes, sir.
What role do you think the investment in infrastructure is going to play in getting this continued economic development, especially with retaining talent?
Yeah, I think the infrastructure, it's not the sexy investment, it's infrastructure. But I think it'll be critical. And I think you see what's going on down here with, with 70, 65, all those types of things, but just being able to create an environment that can handle a level of growth. I think this would be certainly very important. You go to Lebanon in that area up there, 65, they've needed to expand 65 for a long time now. Maybe that issue is going to be forced, but I think it'll be very interesting. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I mean, obviously, the commitment at, the college levels there, but what about businesses' commitment to our elementary and high schools? I mean, if kids don't like school when they're young, they're not going to go to college. So Indiana is constantly at the bottom in terms of funding, teacher pay, things like that. It comes into the quality of life. What have you heard from businesses in terms of how are they going to start moving Indiana up in education?
Yeah, great question, and topical now, because a couple of things. One, the governor's budget, his agenda, what he's asking the legislature for includes funding for teacher pay increases. So I think there are 50s, the average is 56, it would move it to 60, I think. So an increase there, so there's focus on that piece. The textbooks and curricular fees would go away as well. But then on the other thing, on the business side, which I think is interesting, because we just had an interview with Secretary of Education Katie Jenner for the show this weekend, and because I asked her about that business connection, K-12 education. And I mean, it sounded good. Hopefully, it is indeed where our focus will be. She said they're really beginning to see a lot more partnerships with the private sector going into schools. And she used the example of Bosse High School in Evansville, Toyota executives, but also on the production side of things, because Indiana really fortunate to have some great four-year colleges and universities, public universities, but also private. Awesome. But not everybody is cut out for a four-year school. And you can go and get a great, you get a credential, two-year associate degree, whatever it is, and make a very good living. And I think that cultural thing's beginning to kick in. But anyway, Bosse High School is an example where they go in and kids get hands-on, real-life experience in factories or around, Toyota with that program. Similar program in Batesville. I think it was, can't remember the company, but doing the same thing. I think in Greensburg, I think there's a program at the high school there where you can actually, you work in the plant, I think maybe one day a week or something. You can come out with your high school degree, and you can have some credentialing that you can get a job right out of high school. So it's beginning to happen. I think needs to happen more. But you're right, that private sector and the private sector has businesses have been pointing the finger at colleges. Hey, you don't produce the talent we need. Colleges point the finger. So all this finger pointing, I think maybe we're getting to a point where it's beginning to say, hey, we need to work together and come up with some plans. So it's good from our folks around the state. What about the state and local governmental policies, laws, political ideologies with their impacts on potential workforce members in the state of Indiana? Are the political views of government leadership potentially creating barriers for enticing talent from outside Indiana to join the Indiana workforce? Good question. I think maybe, yeah, it could be. I mean, I think, if you talk to some companies, I think they will say definitely that there is, and you go back to RFRA, several years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever that was. And I tell you, that was an issue that I don't think I've ever seen an issue that has rallied the business community so quickly together, because all the big CEOs, Lilly, Cummins, Anthem, you going down the list, came together on that issue. So I think, yes, I think also it's a tough one, with social media, which, I like social media, but there's a lot I don't like about it. It can tend to inflame things, and, there are a lot of dynamics there. But the whole political ideology, the social issue thing is something that states, especially, in the Midwest, like Indiana, which you're challenged anyway. You don't have oceans and mountains and those types of things to attract talent or to keep talent here. So it's something that needs to be, I think, top of mind. But.
I just wanted to continue on the education front, but bringing it back to higher education. You mentioned a lot of the great stuff that IU Indy and Purdue Indy, as I'll call them, whatever their names are going to be. Great vision. I have a student at IU Indy, and I think on the employer side, having been on the leadership side, there still tends to be a lot of bias against our urban campuses in particular. And so what are we seeing a cultural shift? Everybody's talking talent, we need more people, but they often overlook the talent that we have right here in downtown Indy because there's a bias towards some of the Big Ten schools. So are we starting to see a shift in that perception with employers?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there needs to be, and I think they are. And I think when you listen to Purdue's president talk about how excited he is in his vision for this 63-mile corridor, but his vision for adding thousands of students in downtown Indianapolis, in large part because of the business, the corporate presence here, and that connection that that can be made so easily here. You're right, IUPUI, urban campus, someone made the statement, there's no great, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's like, there's no great American city without a great urban university. If you think about it, you think about the research dollars that come through IUPUI, it's huge. I think somebody said, and the Med Center here obviously was a big part of that, but that the research dollars coming through here through IUPUI is more than IU and Purdue and West Lafayette and Bloomington campuses combined. So there's a lot happening here, and I think again culture is one of the pieces, and I think, well, we'll see. But I think it's going to be one of the stories to watch is what IUPUI becomes. What I hope doesn't happen is IU and Purdue don't fight each other, which I mentioned politics, and that's, I think you're already, Frank, just from what I hear, beginning to see that early on in the process. I just hope some of that's natural, is going to happen, but hopefully they can get together, because if you think of the power of IU, the power of Purdue, and to put those together in a positive way would be pretty exciting. Anybody else?
Yeah, just on the whole Elanco office space, this and that, obviously the need for office space is changing. You got some, CEOs saying, get your asses back in the office. Other guys are saying, work wherever you want. Have you heard anything from Elanco? They're gonna change the way that they want to build out there, or?
It's interesting. I have not, in terms of changing, Elanco changes. That's not to say that may not be in the works. But I know that Jeff Simmons, the CEO there, who's a pretty passionate guy, and I view him as a pretty visionary guy. He has some pretty definite thoughts about what he wants that campus to be in terms of an attractor of talent for Elanco. And I agree with this, if they build what they're talking about building, it can be an attractor of talent for Indianapolis, because it is really interesting what they're talking there. Pedestrian bridge over and all of the things that they're talking to transform that part of the city. So that's what I'm going to check on, actually, because we haven't done anything for some months on that project. Did a lot as it was coming about. But the Elanco thing too, I should mention, I know they're very interested. They've got a plant in Clinton, Indiana, which is actually my hometown. And I know there's serious thought given to a big investment there, which would be huge for that part of the state. So we'll see.
Yeah, because whenever, I live in Greenfield, and world headquarters now, there's parking lot's empty. So it's like, how's Jeff going to get everybody to start showing up at the new one?
The new one, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Hopefully they can backfill that and attract somebody there. We were in Greenfield, it was interesting. That's a good example of some of the quality of life stuff they're doing downtown. And I think it's neat to see, because I grew up in a small town, wouldn't change it for anything, but now you drive around some small communities around Indiana, it's tough, pretty challenging, yeah.
I got one.
Yes.
So this is a recent news story. So they're floating the idea of getting rid of income tax in our area. And we know that a lot of the enticement to get companies to come here is, hey, we'll give you a tax break on your corporate taxes because we know we're going to get income taxes. So how do you see that impact?
Yeah, I don't know. Great question. And you talk about that. That's a hot button. I mean, that's one that people get interested in. And you go down to places like Florida, and some of these other places that have tax situations that are very, very attractive. So I guess the bottom line is I don't know, because to do that, hey, it sounds great, but you're right. You got to make up the money somewhere, and you got to have the formula that works. I don't know, and I haven't followed. I know it's kind of out there and floated out there. It's a budget writing session. So it'll be interesting to see if there's anybody who steps out and supports that and gets any momentum going forward. So. Yes, sir.
I see warehouses in Hancock County and warehouses in Hendricks County. Where will be the next development for the supply chain logistics?
Good question. But you look out there, and there's so much. I think you've already seen it. They're already there. But if you look at Boone County, and north along 65, they already have a bunch. But with what's going in up there in that League Park, you got the motorsports investment. I just think that whole, Lebanon, all that area there is gonna be that next really big area for growth. And again, thinking back that corridor, and when they made the announcement of that League Park up there, I immediately thought to myself, God, you got Purdue with all they have going on up there, short distance down there to supply what they're doing and the innovation, and then on down to Indianapolis. So I think that stretch is probably gonna be one that would be pretty hot.
Are our airports big enough? Do we need more airports?
Wow. Well, I tell you, we're very fortunate, I think, to have the airport, the international airport we have. I tell Mario Rodriguez, I said, man, you're just, you're hoarding all these awards, they get year after year. But it's true, and I don't fly a lot, but, fly a decent amount. And I tell you, it's so refreshing. My wife made that statement too. You come back into Indianapolis and you realize what a great airport it is, easy to get in and out of, that kind of thing. So I don't know that airports or air capacity, I think, the nonstop flights and that kind of thing, continue, we built up, we had 50 plus at one point, came back down during the pandemic and back up. But I think that piece, getting more attractive, nonstop flights is something that we need to make sure we stay on top of. All right. Well,
Nothing
thank
else?
you all. Thanks for the opportunity to come here. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Hot mic. Coming from that. That's a scorcher. Thank you very much, Gary. That was excellent. So much going on. I'll tell you what, I don't know if you guys saw this too. It sounds like our job board should be overflowing with opportunities. I want to say thank you too. Recently, we featured my alma mater, Franklin College, and some of the science and technology that they're getting into. Franklin, for most people who don't know, was a big journalism and teaching school for a long time. A lot of that has shifted, and a lot of us who still care about our college wondered if it was going to survive. So their new direction into some science and technology stuff is really exciting. And I'm still involved in the community down there. I volunteer for my fraternity as an advisor there. So that's really exciting. I also want to point out, we have another limb coming up. It's a region limb. So there's North America, there's global, but then there's also regional. And so we're part of Region 2, and they're having a combined Region 2 and 3, and it's going to be in Minneapolis this summer in June. So that's another opportunity we have for people to get out and gain some more chapter leadership skills. Sounds like we've got a lot to offer to the community here. All these projects, all these products, Agile, whatever, we can help with that. So let's get you guys in here. You can scan this QR code, go right to our event survey. Please let us know how you're doing. One of our ways of practicing Agile values is getting feedback and then responding to it. That's how we improve as a chapter, and I think over the past few years, we've done a really good job at taking that feedback and turning it into something useful. Is there anything else I've forgotten so far? Go ahead and flip on over, and ta-da! Your certificate of appreciation. Thank you for speaking with us today and sharing your knowledge. And one more.
Okay, good.
And a final thank you for attending tonight. Thank you for giving us your time. It's valuable. We appreciate having you here. It really makes the event a lot more fun and exciting to do. We hope you've left with something useful, and please go back to your communities and make them better with what you take away from our programs.